Please be seated. I would ask that the children come up and sit here on the steps around me. I have a story to share with you tonight, a Christmas story which has pictures, like all good Christmas stories do. And as they're coming up, I'll give you a little bit of a background. This story is called The Legend of the Poinsettia. And we have lots of them here in the church tonight. The poinsettia is the perennially best-selling potted plant in America. It is named for a former U.S. congressman from the state of South Carolina, Joel D. Poinsett, who was the U.S. ambassador to Mexico in the 1820s and a botanist and an Episcopalian. And he brought this flower back to us, and that's why it's named for him. But in Mexico, where it comes from, where it's a very, very common plant, it's called the Flor de Nochebuena, the flower of the Holy Night, this Christmas night. And the legend that I'll read to you tells you why. So come up a little closer so you can see my pictures. And the rest of you will have to strain your eyes forward a little bit to see the pictures. Okay. So this tells the story of Lucida. Lucida was a little girl. She lived in a small village high up in the mountains of Mexico with her mama, her papa, and her younger brother and sister, Paco and Lupe. Papa worked in the fields with their burro, Pepito. Every evening, Lucida fed Pepito, gave him fresh water, and filled his stall with clean straw. At home, Lucida helped her mama clean their casita, their little house, and pat out the tortillas for their meals. She took care of Paco and Lupe, and each evening they went to the shrine of the Virgin of Guadalupe near the front gate to see if the candles were needed. But every day was not work. On Sundays, the family went to San Gabriel in the square, where Padre Alvarez said the Mass. And all through the year, there were fiestas and holy days, which always began with a procession that wound through the village and ended in San Gabriel. Now one day, close to Christmas, Padre Alvarez came to their casita. "Ah, Senora Martinez, buenos dias, good day," Padre Alvarez said. "I am here to ask you about the blanket which covers the figure of the baby Jesus in the Christmas procession. We have used the same one for so many years that it's almost worn out. Because your weaving is so fine, I have come to ask if you would make a new one." "Mi padre," Lucida's mother said, "I would be honored, and Lucida will help me." On Saturday, Lucida and Mama went to the market to buy the wool for the blanket. They chose the finest wool they could find. At home, Lucida helped Mama dye the wool all the colors of the rainbow. "These colors will shine throughout the church," Papa said, as he watched Lucida and Mama string the yarn on the loom. As Christmas drew nearer, everyone in the village was busy. All the mamas were making gifts to place at the manger of the baby Jesus at the church. The papas worked together, putting up the manger scene in San Gabriel. Lucida and the other children went to the church for singing practice for the Christmas Eve procession, when everyone would walk to San Gabriel singing and carrying candles. Once inside, Padre Alvarez would lay the figure of the baby Jesus in the manger, and the villagers would go up and place their gifts around it. "Our gift will be the blanket for the baby Jesus," Lucida told her friends. "I'm helping Mama to weave it." One afternoon, a few days before Christmas Eve, Lucida and the children were singing in the church when Senora Gomez came hurrying in. "Lucida, you must come home. Your mama is sick and your papa has taken her down to the town to see the doctor. You must take care of your brother and sister until your papa returns tonight." Lucida was frightened. Mama had never been sick before. When she got home, Paco and Lupe were crying. They were frightened too. Lucida tried to comfort them. She made some food and sat down to watch for Papa. That evening, Papa came in looking tired and worried. He drew Lucida close and he said, Lucita, mi niña, your mama is ill. Your aunt, she will take care of mama until she is well. But I must go back and stay with her until I can bring her home. But it won't be until after Christmas. Senora Gomez will take care of you and Paco and Lupe while I am gone. She will come for you tomorrow. The next afternoon, Lucita heard two women talking. Lucita's mama is ill. She won't be able to finish the blanket for the procession. Isn't it a shame? Si, the other woman said. We're all so disappointed. Padre Alvarez will have to use the old, worn-out one. When Lucita went home to feed Pepito and get some clothes for Paco, Lupe, and herself, she looked at the unfinished blanket on the loom. Perhaps I can finish it, she thought. But when she sat down and tried to weave, the yarn just got tangled. The more she tried to untangle it, the worse it got. It was no use. She could never finish it herself. She took the unfinished blanket to Senora Gomez. Oh, Lucita, it is so tangled. There isn't time for me to fix it, Senora Gomez told her. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Lucita started to cry. It was her fault that the blanket was ruined. Her family wouldn't have a gift to place at the manger of the baby Jesus. Don't worry, Lucita, we will all go in the procession together. Lucita didn't say anything, but in her heart, she felt that she had ruined Christmas. Come, Paco, come, Lupe. It's time to go to the procession, Senora Gomez called on Christmas Eve. Where is Lucita? She was nowhere to be found. Lucita was hiding. From the shadows, Lucita watched everyone gather for the procession. The candles were lit, the singing began, and the villagers walked to St. Gabriel, carrying gifts to place at the manger. Lucita walked along in the darkness and watched the procession go into the church, followed by Padre Alvarez carrying the baby Jesus. Little girl, are you Lucita? An old woman stood in the shadows nearby. Si, Lucita answered, wondering who she was. I have a message for you. Your mama is going to be fine, and your papa will bring her home soon, so you don't have to worry. Go now into the church and celebrate Christmas with the others. Paco and Lupe are waiting for you. I can't, Lucita told her. I don't have a gift for the baby Jesus. Mama and I were weaving a beautiful blanket, but I couldn't finish it. I tried, but it only tangled it all up. Ah, Lucita, any gift is beautiful because it is given, the old woman told her. Whatever you give, the baby Jesus will love because it comes from you. But what can I give now? Lucita said, looking around. A patch of tall green weeds grew in a tangle nearby. Lucita rushed over and picked an armful. Do you think these will be all right? Lucita turned to ask the old woman, but she was gone. Lucita walked into the church. It was blazing with candlelight, and the children were singing as she walked quietly down the aisle with a bundle of green weeds in her arms. What is Lucita carrying? A woman whispered. Why is she bringing weeds into the church? Another one murmured. Lucita reached the manger scene. She placed the green weeds around the stable. Then she lowered her head and prayed. A hush fell over the church. Voices began to whisper, look at the weeds. Lucita opened her eyes and looked up. Each weed was tipped with a flaming red star. The manger glowed and shimmered as if lit by 100 candles. When everyone went outside after the Mass, all the clumps of tall grass, green weeds throughout the town were shining with red stars. Lucita's simple gift had indeed become beautiful. And every Christmas to this day, the red stars shine on top of green branches in Mexico. The people call the plants La Flor de Nochebuena, the flower of the Holy Night, the poinsettia. And so you see, we also have poinsettias around our manger scene here tonight. And part of what this story shows us is that Jesus comes to us to transform people, to transform the world, to make things new and beautiful. He comes to people who are sad, and he gives them joy. He comes to people who are lonely, and he helps them to find friends and those who will care and love them. He comes to those who are sinful, and he makes them good. He makes people like us the friends of God, beloved by him forever. That is the mystery of Christmas, the gift of God that comes to us in the tiny baby. Amen. You can go back to your seats. Let us stand and confess together our faith. We believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen.